My name is Carina Gardner, and I'm what you would call a practical designer. If you're ready to create a life that you love, become an incredible force for good, and generate income while pursuing your dreams, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to Make and Design. Hi, designers. Today I'm here with Doug Sandler. He is the owner of Turnkey Podcast Productions. I probably didn't say that right, but
No,
Doug's going to
100%
correct
right.
me.
You had it right. You had it right. You got it all right. This is good.
So Doug is going to be so delightful. I'm really excited for you guys to hear from him, hear what he has to say about podcasting, because you come here, you listen to my podcast, which, you know, you guys, we drop 3 times a week,
Nice.
and it's really fun to have you guys learn more about, you know, what is really possible in this platform. We never think of it as a social media platform, but it's so funny because even on my content team, this is actually under our social media platforms that we work with.
hmm
So welcome, Doug. We're so excited to have you.
Oh, thanks, Karina. What's the expression? A long-time follower, first-time caller. This is good. So I'm excited to be able to be here, and I kind of I have that. I was saying to you right before you hit record. I have that gene that wants me to create, but I can't create so that I'm a designer. You guys have this amazing amount and level of talent. I can fix things and move things and do things and have an eye for it, but not enough to share with other people because I'd be always afraid that they laugh at my silly ideas.
But you're so good at your realm of creativity, though, right? Which
Well,
you're going to talk to us about today.
yeah, I read a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and he always talks about staying in your zone of genius. And where there are many things that I do well, there are only a couple things that I do that I would say are my gift or my genius to this world. And podcast creation, content creation, using the podcast as a platform is definitely one of those areas where I love it and I love helping people do it. So I'm excited to be able to chat with you. I've listened to a bunch of your episodes and heard a bunch of your guests and so many talented people you've had an opportunity to work with and actually have great conversations with. So thanks for having me on the show.
I'm so glad you're here. Okay, let's hop into what do you actually do and why in the heck did you end up here?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I spent 30 years as an entertainer. I was a bar mitzvah MC. So I was a guy that was out on the middle of the dance floor at those parties that you went to with kids and adults there doing the cha-cha slide and the electric slide and the booty call and the wobble and the wop and all those things that are out there. And I'd say probably when I hit my 40s, mid 40s, I said, is this really the impact that I want to have on the world? I had done probably about 2,000 bar mitzvahs at that point in my life, spent 30 years or 25 years at that point in is a career. And I said, I probably have some other things that I would like to be able to share with the world. So I wrote a book called Nice Guys Finish First, was started a podcast as a platform to promote the book because I didn't really have the deep pockets that you need in order to hire a PR agent or a publicist. So I'm like, I can do this on my own. And I discovered when I opened up this microphone, my true love of sharing a message. And I'm like, I can teach other people how to do this. But it took a while. It took about 2 years of podcasting for me to discover that that's actually what I wanted to share with the world. So in making a long story longer, that's where I came to the podcasting space after 30 years as an entertainer and just discovering this other thing in my life, which is this microphone and podcasting.
It's so funny that that was an accident for you, kind of a little bit, because you went into it to promote the book, but you come like in my head, you come from the entertainment space, so it makes a ton of sense for you to be on a podcast.
It does, but what's the expression? There's no mistakes, there's only gifts, and that's what you use in the world of ad libbing or what's it called? Not ad libbing, but when you're working with a bunch of other people and you're doing like a anyway, so for me, there was only this gift, and this gift that opened up that when I opened up this microphone and discovered I can't write a blog once a week, but I can certainly open up a microphone once a week. And then it was twice a week, and then it was 5 times a week. And we've now been podcasting for almost 10 years, 1,500 episodes of our show, 10,000 plus episodes of clients that messages that have gotten out there to the world. And I couldn't think of a better way to make a living sitting in front of my computer talking to amazing people like you and sharing my message with the world at the same time. So it benefits everybody. It benefits me as a business owner, the audience that gets to hear a message and maybe get something from the message, you because you get to have a guest sitting in the guest seat sharing whatever their world is all about. It's a win for everybody, right?
Yeah. So it's such an interesting thing, this world of podcasting, because 10 years ago, it doesn't look like what it does today. Tell me a little bit about that and what you've seen.
Yeah, so I said to a friend of mine, his name is Strickland, who was my partner in the podcasting business. I said to him 10 years ago, I just wrote a book and I want to start a podcast. I said, could you help me do it? And he said, sure. Well, what's a podcast? So I'm like, I don't know how to start it or do anything with it, but I think what we do is we record a bunch of stuff and we get it out to Apple Podcasts. And we didn't know it wasn't as anywhere near as easy as it is now. Not that it's so easy that people want to, take something and, if you're a designer, you don't want to be a podcast producer, editor, distributor. So you generally hire somebody or, figure out how to do it and hire a staff to do it. But for me, it's like, yeah, 10 years ago, it was not an easy process to get started just from a technology standpoint. And then content creation, and then, okay, well, how do I make money from this? So monetization, and how do I build a community, and where's my influencer status come from in podcasting? So we've discovered all of those things along the way. But I've always applied or subscribed to the school of crawl, walk, run. Let's figure this out slowly, and we'll win eventually. And we've won so big over the last 9 years of running this business. It's incredible how what this has been able to afford us.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like how do people use you? Are you working with clients? Are you guys doing production? Are you teaching? Tell me a little bit more about that.
So we started as a production company, meaning that people would want to launch a podcast, but they had no idea how to get it off the ground. So we would build the elements, their show art, their show description, the voiceover person at the beginning and the end, the royalty-free music, establishing the relationship with Apple Podcasts and the hosting source and the audience. And we would build their podcast for them. And then we discovered, well, after we built this podcast, most people don't want to edit their own episodes. So we started to help them edit and produce it and then get it out to the world. And then beyond that, we discovered that people really had no strategy. So we became podcast strategists that have an arm of our company that does production. And where I found that most people gravitate towards is I want to start a podcast, but I have no idea how to do that. And then I have no idea how to become successful at that. And when somebody starts a podcast and they don't have a goal in mind, it's only a matter of time before they quit because as well as I do, Carina, that doing all of these episodes, it's not easy to put out 3 episodes a week. I mean, there's production, there's editing, there's distribution, there's social media, there's content creation, there's the schedule, there's the staff, there's all the components, and it could drive somebody crazy. It's another job doing podcast production. So we said we should be doing all of that. But let's lead with strategy. So let's teach people not only how to do it, but how to do it successfully. Because if I could turn somebody that's a podcaster into somebody that's making $500,000 a year at their podcast, chances are good they're never going to stop podcasting and they're never going to leave me because I'm the catalyst that's helping them to make that money when it comes to their podcast. Therein lies the success process. Clients will not leave you if you teach them how to be successful at what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Clients do not leave you if you teach them to be successful at what they're doing. That's amazing. That's a great statement. So I love that. It sounds like you're doing everything from A to Z on this, which is really fascinating. And you said do you guys drop episodes every single week on your podcast?
Yeah, we do. We were at our busiest. We were 5 days a week, and then we were drowning our audience in content. So we're like, whoa, stop. We better. Well, it wasn't because we couldn't keep up with the flow. At that point, we had a production company under us, our own company. So it was not very costly for us to create it, but it was costly for our audience. We actually had less people listening when we were creating more episodes.
Oh, interesting. So where are you at now?
So we're 2 episodes now. We do a week. We do an interview episode every week, Mondays, one drops. It's me and a successful business person that has discovered the success journey along the way. And so I interview them. And we have a lot of famous people on the show, and we have some normal people like you and me that, well, sorry, you're famous, but I'm normal.
I'm not famous. Let's not go
So,
there.
so we have people that are just, the relatability factor is there for the normal people. People in our audience love the normal people even more than the VIPs, the Gary V's and Ariana Huffingtons of the world. But they're great to have for name recognition. On our Friday episodes, it's just literally me and my partner Strickland. We just talk about life. We talk about politics, religion, sexual orientation. We talk about everything that you could possibly imagine. Those Friday episodes are the ones that get the most attention. So
Interesting.
while I love having conversations with great business people, me and my best buddy, we've been having we've had the podcast for almost 10 years, but we've been friends for 25. So we've been having the same conversations for 25 years. We just record them now, and we have a lot of people that are flies on the wall listening to the
That's
conversations.
so interesting because when I started my podcast, it had the same idea in that I wanted to spend more time teaching on the podcast than having interviews. I think it's valuable to have interviews. Clearly, that's why I have you here
Yeah.
today. And it's great for the YouTube channel and a number of other things that we use it for. But we try to do only one interview for every, I would say, anywhere between 3 to 6 episodes. So you'll only see one for every whatever else that we're doing. And recently, the other thing that we've done is we've brought back classic episodes. So we're bringing back
Mm-hmm.
episodes
Yeah.
from the past that were either really highly rated, lots and lots of people listened to or watched or whatever. And just we felt like if I wasn't going to talk about it again because you forget, you're along your
Right,
journey
right,
and you
right.
totally forget to talk about, the 3 ways that we're seeing trends right now. And oh my gosh, those things are trending again. We should be putting that back into another episode. And so, very interesting. And are you doing podcasting full time at this point? It sounds like
Oh
it.
my gosh, yes. For the last 5 years, 6 years, I've been a full-time podcaster. And if I could talk strategy for just a one quick second, for just a
Let's do
moment, so
it.
that those in the audience can hear, because you just laid out what your strategic plan was. You have these episodes. This is why you're doing this particular type of episode. This is why you do one interview with the ratio of 1 to 4. All of those things. That's the strategy. It's like when you go to design a house, you just don't say, well, this is pink. I like the color pink, so everything in the house is going to be pink. You have to selectively pick the areas. I don't know design at all, but I'm trying to talk designer world. It's like you don't overdo something because you like something. You do it tastefully and delicately, strategically in a house from a design perspective. When you start a podcast, if you're people tend to get into podcasting for really one of three reasons. They either want to build a community, they want to grow their influence, or they want to make money. And all three of those are actually byproducts of each other in the podcasting space. But depending on which strategy you want to lead with would dictate the type of content that you create. So obviously, when someone comes to me and they say, I just want to create content, it's like, to what end? I like to reverse engineer everything so that you can turn around in 6 months and say, I wanted to make money. That was my primary goal. I wanted to make money. So now I can say I've made $100,000 in 6 months from my show. Now I know the metric dollars that equates to success. If the metric people is the thing that equates to success for you, I'm not going to focus on dollars. I'm going to focus on, how do I grow community? What's audience engagement look like? What does my social media content look like? What other plans do I have to promote this using my guest as the promotional tool to build my community through my guest? All of those things is different than influence. Well, I want to have the top names in my world. Well, they aren't going to necessarily grow your community, but they're going to grow your brand awareness because you're associating with somebody like the name brands in your space. So when somebody comes to me with the idea of, I want to start a podcast, I always start with, let's forget production for a second. We got that on lock. We need to figure out what it is that equates to success for you, community influence or money, and then reverse engineer that. So I didn't mean to get into all of those weeds there, but the challenge is that most people are like, I just want to have a podcast.
Yeah, those are the weeds we love on this podcast, right? Designers, because listen, everything he said, you guys, applies to a design business as well,
Absolutely.
right? It's like, why do you get in and you start doing the thing? Because I do think the weeds actually, especially of a podcast or any social media platform, can become problematic because of the things that you've talked about: production time, editing time, all of these things. And so if you don't have a really strong why you're doing it, what will happen is you will fall off and you will stop doing
Oh my
it.
God, a designer that comes to me that wants to start a podcast, but is willing to go through a DIY course and do everything on their own. I'm like, pardon my expression, but why the hell do you want to be a podcast producer? You want to be a designer. Let somebody, early on in my run to grow a business, I discovered that through this zone of genius, through Gay Hendricks and the Big Leap, I discovered that if I'm spending my time in spreadsheets, process improvement, or hiring team members, I'm in the wrong place and I am not a happy fella. So for me, unless I am literally sitting behind this microphone having great conversations with people like you, I'm not happy. So I even put directly on my email address signature line. I don't like long emails. I don't like spreadsheets. I love building relationships, and I'm consistent. So be ready to have a response from every email that you send me in 5 minutes. So it's like if I'm spending time outside of my zone of genius, then I am wasting my time and I'm not going to become successful and I'm going to be miserable in the process. So, as a designer, same thing applies. Don't do podcast production. Don't sweep your floors. Let's hire somebody else to sweep your floors. You're saving a dollar. You're jumping over dollars to get to dimes by saving your money on sweeping the floor.
Yeah. I'd love to end on, if you were any kind of creative, right? And you're creative by nature, by coming from the entertainment business and all of that good stuff. But any other creative, whether you wrote a book and you're an author, you're an animator, you're a
Yeah.
designer, why in the world would you start a podcast? Now, you said the three things that, for the three reasons, but what kind of benefits would people see from starting a podcast?
Well, the three benefits that we talked about are influence, community, or money, and it really just brings it to you. From a dollars and cents perspective, I don't want to spend my time prospecting. I hate prospecting for clients, so I might as well use my podcast as the tool, and people in my audience will reach out when they are ready, not when I am ready to prospect them. The other thing is great relationships are built right out of that guest seat, right out of the host seat. So how many great relationships have I had a chance to build by getting on other people's shows and having people sit in my guest seat? It really is just the best way to build relationships. And right there on my signature line, my disc profile tells everybody that I love relationships. So for me, I could not think of a better relationship builder. This puts us in the microwave oven of relationships. You have to ask me questions. I get to answer questions. And as a host, I get to ask questions and you get to answer questions. What better opportunity is there to build a relationship than the podcast seat? And the resistance or the friction from a normal relationship, like as a person that's on the ask looking for clients, I can put a potential client right in my guest seat. Now, it's hard for me to call somebody and say, I have a podcast production business. Would you be open to me teaching you strategy so that you can launch a podcast? That's an automatic no. If I call somebody and say, hey, John, I'm Doug. I host a podcast called The Nice Guys on Business. Would you be open to sitting in my guest seat, sharing your message and your services with my community? Who's going to say no to that? It's the same question, but it's just covered differently, depending on whether I like a contemporary or mid-century. It just is a different way to presenting the same information, but I get a lot more information as an interviewer than I do as a prospector of clients. So that's for me why I love it so much.
I think it's the unintended consequence of starting a
Yeah.
podcast that I didn't expect, especially when I'm having chats with other designers. So I have a lot of other designers come on my show, other
Yeah.
fabric designers and interior designers and such. And so funny, the conversation that happens off camera almost is the conversation I wish everybody could hear, but we don't do on camera. And that is like, it is all the soft information going around. It's the dollar numbers that we hear from different platforms. And like, we're willing to share
Yep.
information. I just did
Yep.
one yesterday with someone who also does summits. We shared information, numbers in the industry we knew about. So and so made this on this. So and so made this on this. I made this on. She said, I made this on this. And suddenly there was like all this information that you would not hear anybody else, because it's just protected information, right? Like,
Right.
we're just
Right.
not going to throw out dollar numbers. That has been such a source of inside information for me, and I think for other people, because I generally will also, especially if someone's like starting a creative business or they're doing X, Y, and Z, I can tell them this is what we're doing and this is what's working, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're totally using that. I'm like, yeah, you should. It works great. That
After,
is
after
the cool stuff.
It's the I love what you called it, the unintended consequences. I called it the hidden gift in podcasting are the relationships that I have built from that guest seat and that host seat that I would had no idea were possible. And if for no other reason you get into podcasting to build the relationships for the with the people that are sitting in your guest seat or that are hosting you, that's the benefit of it right there. Free coaching from world class, John C. Maxwell, leadership expert, Gary Vaynerchuk, lead entrepreneur, Ariana Huffington, the creator of the Huffington Post. I mean, these are guests that have been on my show. Jeffrey Gitomer, the number one, king of sales. So many people have been sitting in my guest seat. Noah Kagan, number 30 employee at Facebook. These are people that I have their cell phones. I could call them and say, hey, you remember when we were talking about this on the show? Can you help me with? They give you free coaching. It's the best thing ever. I love it.
It's incredible. And I agree with you. Well, here's what I want to end on. I want to make sure that people can find you, come see you at your podcast and see what you're doing. And if this is a platform, many of you guys are on Instagram, you're on YouTube, you're on TikTok, and you haven't even considered podcasting because, first of all, it's a little bit unnatural for us. I'm going to say that for the design world, when I got into podcasting, it was really hard for me to find any other shows that were like graphic design related. There have been a few that have come up after I started doing it. So it feels a little bit unnatural, but there's a lot here in terms of audible communication that we can have about design that I think is helpful. So tell us where people can find you.
Okay, so and I'm going to use a four-letter word. The four-letter word is money. So I'm going to use that for a second. It's really easy to get more information without the high risk of having to have a conversation with me. Because if you feel like, hey, I don't want to be sold anything, totally fine. First step is just get a hold of our toolkit. And the toolkit is at turnkeypodcast.com/money. And what you'll get when you connect with me there is you'll get the 5 ways to make money podcasting, and you'll get a little video of how I actually make money using podcasting as a tool. So turnkeypodcast.com/money.
Awesome. That's incredible. And then do you have another podcast that they can listen to now?
Sure. If they want to listen to the Nice Guys on Business podcast, really easy. It's just a microphone with a big heart in it. You'll see the cover art when you go over to Apple Podcasts, but you can pick any number of 1,500 episodes that you want to listen to. It's been a fun ride. I really enjoy it. So that's the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Incredible. Doug, thank you so much for joining us today. Any last piece of advice for those that are thinking about starting any kind of business and want to use podcasting as part of their platforms?
Don't be afraid to fail. Just don't be afraid to fail, no matter what you do, whether it's podcasting or design or whatever. The biggest challenge is so many people get stuck just in getting ready mode. Don't get ready anymore. Just dive in, and you'll do it, or you'll fail at it, and you'll discover one thing that you didn't think that you knew that you shouldn't be doing, that now you'll never do that again. So just get started, whatever it is. Don't get stuck.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Doug, for coming on. You guys, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Did you know you have access to more free design content, die cut files, and sewing patterns? Join our exclusive VIP group for free by going to designsuitecourses.com/free.